At the center of every armed conflict of the 20th century, the machine gun has been a tool of conquest and liberation.
With each battle, it has unleashed consequences its creators never imagined. This is the story of one of the world's deadliest inventions.
The story of technological innovation,
of industrial revolution,
and political power. October 1941, a Soviet tank hit by a German shell. The tank commander, 22-year-old Mikhail Kalashnikov, got out alive. A piece of shrapnel lodged in his shoulder. Kalashnikov tried to make his way back to the Soviet line, but all around him German soldiers gunned down the fleeing Russians. They used a new kind of machine gun, a submachine gun, small and light enough to be carried on the run.
Это была жуткая картина, но что можно, я только зубами скрипел, держал свой пистолет.
The German submachine gun was the MP-40, invented by the infamous Nazi gun designer Hugo Schmeisser. Hiding from the Germans, Kalashnikov swore that in future the people of his motherland would be properly defended. Recovering in hospital, Kalashnikov found an encyclopedia of automatic weapons in the library. He stayed up all night, devouring every page.
Но я добыл школьные тетради, карандаши, резинки и начал набрасывать первый пистолет-пулемет, который мне хотелось изготовить. Но ни опыта, ни знаний, ничего не было.
1945. Atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading Kalashnikov to believe the time for machine guns had passed.
Да, конечно, после этого я подумал, что наши стрелялки уже никому больше не нужны.
But Kalashnikov's superiors told him not to give up. The wartime alliance between the Soviets and the United States and Britain had begun to unravel. And in the Cold War that was approaching, Kalashnikov's new machine gun would do much of the killing. With peace in 1945, the United States looked forward to a time of plenty. As Europe began to rebuild, the American economy thrived in a boom of industrial growth.
If we can put this tremendous machine of ours, which has made this victory possible, to work for peace, we can look forward to the greatest age in the history of mankind.
We had pent-up consumer demand, money saved during the war that we could not spend on consumer goods, but was now available, an outpouring of goods like television, suburban tract homes. That notion that the world was now safe for America, that American technology, American values would triumph almost automatically around the world. It truly looked like the American century.
In other parts of the world, too, a new enthusiasm for the fight against repression was spreading.
With World War II, you had regular soldiers coming back and saying if they could in fact fight in World War II to end fascism, to end racism as expressed by the Nazis, why should they put up with that in their own country?
When the whole thing was over, and they said, well, here we are. Now it's gin and tonic on the terrace at Shepherd's Hotel or whatever. And the local people said, no thanks, you got that bit wrong, it's goodbye now, and we're going to take care of ourselves. And for a bit we tried to say, no, we're putting the clock back.
All who carry the mark of the Mau Mau must be hunted out so that peace may come to this troubled colony.
Mau Mau leader Jomo Kenyatta fought for the end of colonial rule in Kenya. Ahmed Ben Bella led a rebellion against the French in Algeria. Ahmed Sukarno tried to liberate Indonesia from the Netherlands. Ho Chi Minh set up an independent Vietnamese government in Hanoi. But the old empires were reluctant to let go of their colonies. The insurgents used weapons abandoned after World War II. In army depots and hidden caches, the resistance fighters grabbed Tommy guns and Sten guns, grease guns and Bren light machine guns. Their tactics, those used by the partisans of World War II. The machine gun was critical to their success. Small groups or even lone fighters could attack and then disappear quickly. It worked in the jungle or in urban areas. The machine gun made for a new kind of guerrilla warfare.
So that from the U.S. point of view, greater national independence was more generally seen as opening up economic opportunities. The fact that these economies would not be under the control of a European power was seen as a plus.
Against the weakened empires of Europe, the nationalists often won. In 1947, the British left India. In 1948, the end of French rule in Cambodia. And in 1949, the Netherlands pulled out of Indonesia.
Whether they would develop into Marxist economies was something else, and that obviously was not anything that we would have welcomed.
The United States wanted these economies opened up to U.S. domination to prevent independent economic development, which they thought would be what was sometimes called a virus that might infect others, meaning other people might be interested in it and it would inspire similar developments elsewhere. So you have to prevent the rot from spreading.
Also in 1949, victory for Mao Zedong in China.
In China, the chips were down as the communist armies marched into Shanghai, and to complete control, Russia had gained a mighty friend.
Mao's victory was a bitter blow for the United States. They would not let the whole of Asia fall to the communists without a fight. Their efforts would bring a chill wind to the Cold War and flood the world with even more machine guns. In the wake of World War II, ideological differences emerged among allies, causing a rift that would divide the Soviet Union gained control of Eastern Europe. US influence held firm in the West. And then Mao Zedong gained victory in China. The revolution removed a market of 600 million people from America's economic plan.
The dominant event of the post-World War II era economically was the collapse of free China and the loss of that enormous market that Americans and Europeans had hoped to be able to exploit.
The US feared the spread of the new Sino-Soviet bloc, a domino effect for communist rule. America supplied arms to royalists fighting communists in Greece. They put the Shah on the throne in Iran, overthrowing a democratic government. When the North Korean army looked poised to take over the South, the states committed their own troops to battle. And in 1954, when Ho Chi Minh threw the French out of Vietnam, the Americans sent arms to the anti-communist South